Ruslan.
Every influencer is a leader, and not every leader is an influencer. But our leaders at UIWI, you all need to be influencers because you have something to say. You are world changers. So I need you to get these nuggets. And we got the perfect man to help you out, Mr. Ruslan.
The first time ever we're doing this, where we got multiple streams, multiple Zooms, leveraging technology. My name is Ruslan. I am an artist, entrepreneur, creative, husband, father, follower of Jesus. So I'm excited to be talking about this idea of YouTube and monetization and all these great things.
Man, we're so excited to have you on, Ruslan. And I know that, I mean, you've kicked it with the UIWI family before. Of course. You've been to our conference, right?
Of course, multiple times. I've performed.
Okay, that's what I thought, man. Yeah, man.
Going all the way back to like 2008. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's been a minute, bro. But in that time, you have really blown up. Obviously, you know, as a musician, man, we love your art and all that, but in the last number of years, man, you've really come up and really kind of made a mark in this content space. And so we're really excited to talk with you. So again, we're talking about, there's kind of like three sections for today, friends: ministry, message, and monetization. If I can say the word, I probably couldn't spell it, but we're going to talk about those three things today. And so really the first one, Ruslan, is ministry. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit, just a little bit about yourself and kind of your perspective on this being a ministry, kind of, creating content, being an influencer. What does that look like? And a little bit about, the structure and aim of your YouTube channel, kind of help our audience understand where you come from.
Yeah, I come from the local church context. So I got saved and into ministry in using stuff like art, technology, music very early on in the process. So 17, 18, leading Bible studies, that sort of thing. And that planting into a local church is one of the best decisions I could have done because it allowed me to learn media, learn sound and mixing boards, and learn how to communicate and all these different things. That all cultivated to me eventually going on staff at my local church for 2 years, from 2013 to 2015, running the media department, overseeing the Sunday morning production, overseeing a group of volunteers, and it was all very fun, very fulfilling. And I was able to take some of these skills, some of these ideas, and channel it into eventually my own media company, my own music, my own YouTube page, and to meet the need online, especially as the pandemic started off, of people looking for sensible, Christ-centered teaching that doesn't alienate them from their friends and loved ones, that empowers, encourages them to go into the marketplace and represent Jesus well. So my story is one of from the local church, in the local church, and then evolving into this online platform to hopefully get people back into more local churches and get plugged in and serving people in their communities. And I think the online space could be a great supplemental vehicle for that, for people who are looking to communicate truth with their local church, like a pastor that's looking to do like a Monday morning, quarterback. We're going to recap and go deeper on the message. Starting something that simple can scale beyond your local church community.
Man, that's so good. And I hope, friends, those of you guys who are tuning in, listening, especially from our community and Ruslan's community as well, that what I love and what's going to be really important for a lot of our leaders, what you said, Ruslan, is this idea of understanding, like, your heart really is to see people get back into the body of Christ, to the community, the church, right?
Yes,
and friends, I would take that as a strategy as well when you're trying to convince your leader, maybe who's a little bit older generation, or your pastor or your ministry or whatever that is, nonprofit, and you're saying, look, I think we need to do this. And they're like, well, connect it back to the core purpose, that this is what it's about. It's not about, I don't believe, Ruslan, you're here because you're like, yo, I just want people to know my name. Mm-hmm. I mean, your whole thing is you want people to know Christ's name. Amen. So I love that, man. So, just to play a little, for those people who are a little struggling with it, or they're trying to figure out how they're going to convince their leaders of it, mm-hmm. like, put us up on some game. Like, how do you view social media as a ministry, as a work in the kingdom of God? Like, give us some framework for that, especially for those who are kind of like, look, pandemic's over. I'm going back to how it used to be. Yeah. One, let me let you guys know it's not going back. Like, we're here. So let's push into the future. But, share a little bit about that.
I think social media is the Times Square, the Times Square, not the Times Square, the time of being in the town square and communicating what's going on. So it is where the people congregate now. All people congregate. And if you think about the idea of someone standing on a soapbox in their local town square and articulating a message, talking about something, I think that is what social media is today. And I think it would be just a bummer if of people not leveraging that opportunity. If you could stand in your local city and communicate ideas, communicate truth, why would you not want to do that? Why would you not want to communicate that and have the access? And so I think now we have these tribes and we have these town squares, if you will, all over virtually. And there's different pockets of people that we can connect, whether regionally, locally, in specific communities. And I think the internet is the new reality for a lot of people, whether or not we want to acknowledge it or not. That's where we do our shopping. It's where we do our connecting. It's where we do our entertainment. Everything is happening over the internet. And so I think to ignore that and be like, oh, well, I'm just, I'm too pious for social media. It's like, all right, yeah, we'll see how that plays out in 10 years from now. We'll see how relevant you are 10 years from now. So I think that's how I view it, man, is it is our modern town square where people congregate. And so why would you not want to be where the people are at?
Man, I love that. A quick story, man. I was one of those people that, like, I'm in that weird generation. I'm like that at the end of Gen X. Like, we had video games, but we didn't have the internet. You know what I mean? So it's like super weird. And it's like, and so social media seems like, to me, it was a couple years ago. And I was complaining to a staff member she was 22 at the time. Mm-hmm. And she looked me dead in the eye, bro. And she just goes, so you're telling me, Tommy, that if Apostle Paul was alive right now, he wouldn't be on Twitter? Mm-hmm. He wouldn't use all the tools at his disposal to reach people with the gospel? Come on. And I just looked at this young woman and I just said, man, shut up. You know what I mean? Because the truth was she was just so right on. And it's like, how impassioned am I to share Christ? And will I use the tools of the day like Paul did, Roman roads, paper, letters, you know what I mean? The systems of that day to reach people with Christ. So friends, if you're out there and you're struggling with it, maybe you're a little bit older like me or a little bit older than me, and you're like, and you're kind of down on. So like, I love what Ruslan's saying, man. It's where the people are. Yep. And friends, it's where this next generation is, who are by the millions leaving the church. Let's get there. So yeah, man, I think that's really helpful, bro. So one of the issues is so we're on social media. Mm-hmm. Somebody has, you have a gang load of followers, we're watching people with 1 million followers, people get 100,000 and they're like, yeah. But for our youth leaders, sometimes it feels like, man, I only got like 200 people, you know what I mean? And nobody liked my post and those kind of things. When it comes to this and viewing it as ministry first, okay, cool, I'm going to start engaging it. How should a youth worker, an urban youth worker, define success when it comes to social media? Like, how do you view that? That's
a great question. Success is going to be different for different people, right? And so I think there is something to having an audience online, because this is how we got to think about it. Everybody is leading somebody somewhere. Everyone is communicating. Everyone's pastoring to a certain degree. So do you want folks that are having a different theology, different framework? Maybe they're walking away from the church, or do we want folks who are instead following Jesus and staying true to orthodoxy and staying true to that? So there is something to influence. Let's not minimize influence and be like, oh, I only have 10 followers. Okay, respect. Let's work on that. Let's make sure the whole youth group is following you. Let's make sure the whole church is following you. Like, we're not going to just act like, oh, it's all vanity. It's all no. The influence is important. And to your point, if the Apostle Paul was around today, he was using media. He was writing letters, which is media, to the people of his day. So I think when it comes to social media, you got to figure out what is your goal. Are you just wanting to peek into your kids' life and kind of see what they're going through and get a glimpse on what they're doing on Instagram? Instagram and TikTok, great. That's a great place to start. Or is to go, hey, I actually want to influence them on social media. Well, then that becomes a different conversation. Now you got to get a bit more tactical. Now we got to start talking about the how. We got to start talking about what, because we know the why. We get the why. But now we got to get into the tactical. So now you got to learn how TikTok works. And TikTok is not a difficult place to amass a following if you respect the platform, you respect attention, and you understand how it works. I mean, there's just normal guys walking around here that have 100,000 TikTok followers. Guys I play basketball with, just 100,000 TikTok followers. And I'm like, how did you do it? And this is my buddy Zach. Shout out to my buddy Zach. He may be watching. He's like, dude, I just opened up the YouVersion Bible app and I would look at the verse of the day and I would just open the verse of the day and say, well, here's the verse of the day, and read it to people. And, you know, he's halfway good looking guy, and he amassed 150,000 follower on TikTok. That some of that transferred over to his Instagram. He has like 15, 20,000 people on Instagram that follow him. That then transferred over into him planting a local church. Hello. And now there's an audience for him that didn't exist a year ago pre-pandemic. You know, and so again, the question maybe is, are we humble enough to say, let's approach this next generation the way they would prefer to be approached, not the way we want to be approached, not the way we think they want to be approached. No. This is where things are going. This is how things are moving. Are we humble enough to say, these are the times? Am I willing to communicate with them on their platform? And if, you know, I got passages pulled up of scripture, and we can go there when you guys are ready. But I think it's deeper than just being on social media, not being on social media. It's like, well, what is your objective, and do you want to actually make a dent in this space? Because not only can it impact your local community, I mean, it could create so much more than just what a Wednesday night Bible study, a youth group can do.
Yeah, man, that's good. And one of the things you said earlier, man, then I'm going to shoot it over to Cherie, but one of the things you said earlier for you when I was listening, and you said, here's why I do this. And you're one of the distinctives, I think, for your channels and for what you're doing is you wanted to put out content that help people not alienate their friends and family. Yeah. Isn't that what you said? Right.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful distinctive. It's like you have to think through the strategy of it. Like, this is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So friends, if you're listening, man, I hope you're taking notes, man, because Ruslan's dropping some bombs, man. But I so appreciate it. And honestly, if I could be real, you're like, it's convicting for me because I struggle, man. I struggle with being like, man, like, feeling like, oh, I got to keep up with it, or people, you know, want me to put this out there, and my type of personality is like, don't tell me what to do. You know, it's a weird journey for me. And so I hear you, man. My staff hears you. You know what I mean? I guess I got to do some things. So go ahead, Cherie.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, we're doing this particular live stream not to help our youth workers figure out how to be Insta famous. Like, that's not what we're trying to do. This conversation is meant for you to realize, like you said, Ruslan, the gatekeepers are gone. Like, you don't need a booking agent to get in front of these youth conferences anymore. You could write, you know, your own content now and put it out to millions at the touch of a button. Okay. So this whole like hustle, I need to get 10 kids to my youth group. Yo, you should be getting, you know what I mean, 10,000 to your youth group if you know how to use social media. And we believe so much in our leaders that they are such dope leaders and have the tools to reach this next generation for Christ, that if we could give them the tools that they need to get into these social media outlets and really make impact, like some of our leaders, Passion LA has killed it, millions of views on their TikToks by giving mom and dad advice. That's simple. They call themselves mom and dad, and kids write in and they're like, Mom, you know, what should I do there? Dad. I mean, it's that simple. And so they're having such growth and such impact just by knowing how to use these tools. But it's an investment.
It is.
It's an investment, bro. Oh my gosh. And we were talking a couple of weeks ago and you were telling me about how much content you have to put out, how much time you put into it. I was like, I have a job. I have several jobs actually. So I don't have time to be getting on social media, and I'm trying to live my life. So, but I feel like the investment is worth it.
Yes.
But it is frustrating. Let me tell you a story. So we're doing this thing at UIWI called Tools, Tips, and Takeaways. We're trying to just get like really quick tips out to our youth workers. So Vanessa Cruz, a fellow youth worker, and I got together and we're like, okay, we'll take an hour. We'll make 2 TikToks. It took us 2 hours just to make just to make 2 TikToks, and we were like trying to find the filters, trying to find the sounds that were trending, you know, all that stuff. Then you have to edit it. So tell me, why is it worth the investment for our busy youth workers who are trying to run youth groups, probably bivocational, right? So they're running a youth ministry plus working more than one job, plus trying to live their life and stay healthy. Like, why is this worth the investment?
Well, I think we also have to think about investment in terms of the long-term ROI, not just the short-term ROI. So if I'll use, for example, myself right now, my wife just had a baby 10 weeks ago. The gym shut down in California, as you guys know, and my scale broke right around the holidays. So your boy ballooned up to 203, which is the heaviest I've been in a long time. So for me, I'm trying to cut down some weight. Now I could say, going to the gym for 2 hours, what a stupid investment. Why would anyone go to the gym for 2 hours, right? Or why would anyone meal prep their food and not just eat, you know, whatever they feel like eating whenever they feel like eating? Why would anybody have a plan for their body or have a plan for their nutrition? Well, if you value health and fitness and looking younger and feeling better and living longer, you gotta have a plan for these things, right? And so for me, it's the consistent compound effect of investing. I'm going to the gym twice a day now, if some of you guys believe it or not, and I'm eating decent. So I'm going in the morning and I'm strength training, and then I go hit the Stairmaster for another 35 to 55 minutes at night, because I'm trying to get this weight off. Like I stepped on that scale and I was like, this is not who I'm gonna be. And with that comes sacrifice, but it's a reflection of my value system, of what I value, of what's important to me. And in the grand scheme of things, 2 hours a day isn't really that much time for the ROI of what my life and how I'm gonna feel and what my body's gonna look like and how I'm gonna change in a year from now. So I think we always look at the right now. Well, yeah, like going to the gym for 2 hours a day or 1 hour a day for the first week is terrible. For the first month is barely bearable, but a year from now, you're so conditioned to be that person, and you know, because you walk through the process of what this requires, but the benefit, you know, there's a Dave Ramsey quote, and he said, nothing tastes, no cookie tastes as good as the feeling of being lean. No cookie tastes as good as the feeling of being lean, right? And so now let's just come back to media. Let's just come back to media for a second. Yes, 2 hours a day sounds like a wild investment. That sounds outlandish to say. Spend 2 hours a day creating 30-second videos on TikTok or going live on YouTube or being on Instagram. But the compound effect of that long term is you could look up and have access to thousands, potentially tens or hundreds of thousands of people to tell them about Jesus, and you might be one of the few voices of Jesus that they might relate to, right? Like the ROI on that is huge. Like, forget the potential book deals, forget the potential clout, forget the potential numbers. Let's just forget about our youth groups getting bigger. The ROI of some kid somewhere coming across a video from you because you're relatable, Tommy, or Cherie, you guys, you're gonna reach people that I may not be able to reach, and the ROI of that and potentially moving the needle in that kid's life or in that young adult's life, I think is way more massive than whatever, earthly success. And there's nothing wrong with earthly success. So that's how I think about it. Yes, it is a commitment. Yes, it is hard. Yes, there's a learning curve. Yes, it's cringy. TikTok is cringy. Making YouTube thumbnails is cringy. It is cringe. Goodness gracious. I get teased all the time. Like, you make the YouTube face, right? Like, there's a degree of cringe. But what is the ROI? The ROI is, goodness gracious, there are people that are constantly messaging me regularly that are like, dude, I walked away from the faith, but I saw this video and all of a sudden everything made sense again. And I've never heard anybody talk about Jesus the way you talked about Jesus. I'm looking for a church home, or I had this breakthrough, or I saw freedom with this addiction, or Right, like that is amazing, man, and we eliminate some of the false dichotomy if when we get into the potential monetization side of it that can I mean, I know a guy. There's a guy. He walks up to people in like Walmart and in public places, and he just goes, "Jesus is king, bro. Yes or no." Right, I can't remember his name. He's a super cool guy. We follow each other. We just DMing each other, and the dude has a publishing deal. Like the dude has a publishing deal. He has 1 million followers on TikTok. That landed him a publishing deal. Like that's insane. Like that. Think about that. Wasn't possible 5 years ago. Some random Christian guy in Oklahoma City walks around and asks and just simply says, "Jesus is king, yes or no, bro?" And people are like, "Yes." Most people are saying yes. And it's like, yo, this man got a publishing deal, right? Probably a 6-figure publishing deal. I mean, that could move the needle in so many of our lives. So that's just one idea of monetization. But even if there is no monetization, even if there is no money in this, even if we're just strictly talking about influence, this is the cheapest, simplest, easiest way to get influence with massive ROI with a massive audience that was not available 5 years ago, that was not available 3 years ago, right? And it's here right now. And our voices, specifically just your guys' voices, your faces, the Tommy, Cherie, are needed, man. They're needed. People need to connect with folks that are coming from a different perspective, maybe folks that look like them, maybe folks that sound like them, maybe folks that have the same life story as them. And that representation is important. So I think it's vastly important. And I think sometimes we'll be so heavenly minded that we're of no earthly good. Our head will be so in the clouds, and we're like, yeah, church and Bible and yeah, all that. But like, are you actually good? Are you meeting needs on this side of eternity? And that's what my heart is for my community, for your guys' community.
And I hear you. I think it's worth the investment, but I think it's hard to figure out how to get into that rhythm that you're talking about. And Tommy and I, we talk about this all the time. Like, how do we get into the rhythm of creating content? And so your friend, Ruslan, my friend, Pastor Roy Dockery.
Yeah, shout out Pastor Roy.
You advise that you create content surrounded around your natural life rhythm.
Yeah.
So if you wake up in the morning and you read the news, then that's what he does. He reads the news and he thinks about it and gives his thoughts on the news every morning, because that's what he does. He reads the news every morning. And so he was like, Cherie, you live in California. What do you do all the time? I'm like, I always take a walk, always, every day. He's like, you should start talking when you're on your walk.
Yep.
So it's like finding the things you do naturally and incorporating pieces of content out of that. Is that basically? I
love that. Idea? Yeah, no, that's totally it. Because if it's a part of your daily routine, like my buddy Zach, who would open the YouVersion Bible app and say, "Oh, here's the daily verse. Let me just read it." Like, who would have thought that would have got him 150,000 TikTok followers, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're totally right. Finding it around your routine. There's different ways to do it. You can batch shoot it if you're super busy. Sometimes just getting in the flow state. I like doing something every day. I think the discipline of doing something every day is really healthy. So I like the idea of doing something every day, but potentially batch shooting, meaning like I don't have to go live every day. I go live maybe every other day now, and then I take that and I chop those up into multiple videos. And now I have content for the whole weekend. I could literally just take my foot off the gas. My nephew's in town, my niece is around, we're going to the gym playing basketball, right? I could just not, because I have stuff already done. So you could also batch shoot, which is what a lot of people do. The big idea I would say is whatever it is that you want to do, get in a flow state, get in a rhythm. If you find that flow state, like again, going back to the gym analogy, just because it's fresh, walking into that gym for that first like 10, 15 minutes, I'm tight, I'm sore, I'm working hard. I don't want to do squats today. Like, who wants to do squats? And I'm just really just trying to find that flow state. And by the flow state, this is a psychological phenomenon where our brains shut off, we lose sense of time, and we just go. And so if you could find that flow state in creating TikTok videos, you could sit down for 3 hours, but pump out 15 videos because you just go, and then map them out the rest of the week in terms of adding the captions, adding the titles, adding the graphics, right? Same thing with YouTube. You get into a flow state and you could just go, and then your brain shuts off. Like, I don't know how long we've been talking. We've been talking for 30 minutes. It feels like we've been talking for 5 minutes, but we're in a flow right now. So I think finding that flow state is also very helpful. And that's how I advise people is like, hey, Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's intimidating. But the sooner you can get in a rhythm, the sooner you can get in a groove, you get past the learning curve of the technology, because obviously there's going to be some learning curve there. But, you know, TikTok and YouTube, you could do right on your phone. You can do it right on your phone. It's not super complicated.
True. That is, well, kind of. Again, the story where we were making the TikTok videos, you have to put your phone somewhere. And thank God I had one of those like bendable situations where I could put it on a stand with the ring light and, you know, so there is some investment. So we talked about the investment of time, right? We need to talk about the investment of creativity, because I think that's a part of the investment. But one thing I love about you, Ruslan, your gear is dope. Everybody look at his setup. We all struggling out here. I'm like trying to make sure the lighting's right. Brother's out. He's like, he just shows up. His studio is ready. He just wakes up and goes into his studio. It's already ready. The lights are there. He's got a multi-camera switcher. He's got the proper audio. So I know our youth workers are chomping at the bit right now. Like, okay, what investment do I have to make in the gear? What's my gear investment?
Yeah.
So I know, real quick, because I already know, and go ahead and drop this. We're going to drop this in the chat right now. Mm-hmm. You share your gear list. So we're dropping it in our chat right now.
Okay, cool.
Because you already tell us. But tell us how you developed your gear list. And Tommy had a great question. What did you start with? Yeah. Like 5 years ago, what were you doing before you turned into big time?
So I started with my iPhone, and people are blown away by how many folks just start on their iPhone. Believe 300 and some thousand subscribers started on his iPhone. My buddy Gabe Perot, who was just over on the channel, intentionally only uses an older iPhone because he believes that Gen Z doesn't want it to be overproduced. They don't want it to look super nice. I have a more millennial audience. We still think lighting and stuff is cool. Like, we like the production of things. Gen Z doesn't give a crap. They're like, look, I just want it to feel authentic. I want to feel like you're talking to me. So Gabe does all of his YouTube videos, all of his lives, and all of his TikToks on an older iPhone intentionally because he wants it to look like something the folks on the other side can feel like they can create. That's the idea. The Gen Z kids want to know that they can do it, what you're doing. And so he intentionally does it on his iPhone. So I started on my iPhone. You can go watch my, if you search Ruslan Day as a First Time Rapper, iPhone, just straight iPhone, chopping the videos down, adding some music, keeping it moving. The first thing I did was, because I got a camera for shooting music videos, I eventually started just doing talking head videos into the camera. The thing that changed for me was when I mounted a camera permanently to where you see this camera is right now, which was probably about 2 years ago. I said, you know what? I'm not gonna do this whole setup and tear down thing because it's taking me longer to get in the flow state. I need to set something up. I need to set the lighting up. I need to set the microphone up. I need to set everything up. And once I set it up, I need to make it as quickly from my head to execution. That process needs to be super, super fast. And so once I did that, that's when I was able to create at scale and everything changed. But you don't need a camera. You can start on just using the back of your iPhone. Most of us have iPhone 10s, 11s, 12s. You could just start using the back of your iPhone for live streaming or for TikTok and start there and then build on top of that. My setup is grandfathered in because I was doing YouTube as a rapper. So I was doing music stuff. I have a studio, I have a space, I have mics, I have lighting, some stuff like that. And so I kind of cheated. Like, it wasn't the same thing as someone that's just starting out. The average person starting out, honestly, you don't even, if you're trying to do TikTok, TikTok is top of funnel. TikTok is the widest net. Quick tip about TikTok: your first 5 posts are the most important. If you've posted 5 posts, if you posted, hear me loud and clear. If you posted on TikTok and your first 5 posts bombed, erase your TikTok and start all over. Don't keep going. Just erase it and start it over. But on TikTok, I mean, I have I got like the stand, but you don't really need that stuff. Gabe came over and we did a whole TikTok video, and he's just on his phone, handheld, just punching on his phone, doing these jump cuts, and he's really speaking fast, and he's doing his best to retain attention. So that's the key with any of this stuff, is like you gotta give people the reason to watch. So towards the end, you gotta give something that's entertaining, and you gotta give something that's educational, and that's where the magic is. If you could be entertaining, if you could be funny, if you're good looking, boom, that is value in and of itself. If you could also give it education, meaning that someone might look at Tommy and be like, well, Tommy doesn't look like someone that's been walking with Jesus for decades. I mean, just look at him. Like he looks like he's from, South LA. Like he doesn't fit that mold, right? But when you hear him articulate the gospel, that could do something to somebody's brain. Be like, whoa, I've never heard someone like that talk like a pastor, right? And then that is value in entertainment. So I think that's the deal with a TikTok is you could do it just right on your phone. My whole situation is honestly overkill. Like if I was really going for Gen Z, I wouldn't be doing it in this format. My format on TikTok is different. What I do on TikTok looks completely different than what I do on YouTube because it's a different audience. And I think that's how we have to approach it. And by the way, TikTok is aging now too. So you'd be surprised that, I'd say by the end of 2022, all of our parents will probably be on TikTok. My mom will be asking me about TikTok. You know what I mean? Because TikTok is going towards education. They want more education stuff on TikTok. They just opened up 3-minute videos. So guess what? You're going to see cooking tutorials. You're going to see more Bible studies. You're going to see more really in-depth like tutorial-based stuff because they're intentionally pressing into that niche. So that's just stuff to be thinking about.
All right, real quick, Tommy, you might have something, but I want to just tease this out before we move. I want to ask about this idea of scaling your content. Mm-hmm. So what I loved is when you talked about, Cherie, when you're creating content, you can't just think for TikTok, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to think for TikTok, you got to think for YouTube, you got to think for Instagram. So when you start to compound all these platforms, again, it gets overwhelming because you're like, I already don't have time. Our youth workers are saying, I already don't have time. Mm-hmm. Now you're telling me I have to do how many different formats, mm-hmm. a 3-minute, a 60-second, a 30-second, and a 15, mm-hmm. you know what I mean? It's just a lot. So you talked about just being really intentional about your workflow mm-hmm. and how you scale. You also talked about who are you trying to reach, right? So if you're trying to reach Gen Z, there's a certain amount of platforms you should be using, and there's some you don't need to worry about, right? If you're trying to do more of an older audience, then you need to be over here. So tell us a little bit more about that. So this is scaling your content for all the platforms that you need to be on.
Ideally, you make everything natively, meaning that like I'm shooting photos for Instagram. I know it's going to work on Instagram. People love to see me having a good time with my family. Those are the photos that perform the best. Yeah. Or something related to music or me being around an artist. That tends to perform better on Instagram. On YouTube, it's the live streams, but even the live streams getting chopped down to a nice like 8 to 12 minute segment and chopping those into individual segments. That usually tends to work better on YouTube, and YouTube can put multiple ads when the video is 8 minutes or longer. So again, YouTube is just looking at like who's generating us revenue, who's generating us views. That's all they care about. All these platforms really just care about, are you keeping people on our platform or people leaving our platform? And all that works together. So TikTok, it obviously is the short form content. You got to be super punchy. You got to talk a little faster. You got to get to the point. Again, it just all goes back to respecting people's attention. A lot of Christians, because we have the most important message, we don't respect people's attention. And in terms of scaling, what you could do, like I go, YouTube is my main bread and butter. And then from YouTube, I have an editor that will take my YouTube videos and chop them down and make sure I have versions of them that can scale over to TikTok, that could scale over to YouTube Shorts, which is YouTube's competitor with TikTok, and IG Reels, which is also Instagram's competitor with TikTok. So I go from YouTube to these other platforms. Again, I have the luxury of having someone on my team that could do that for me, because I, like a lot of you guys, I don't have the capacity to worry about 5 different platforms. I can't be on LinkedIn, YouTube, and this. So I'm just starting on one. Let me crush YouTube. Like I'm gonna crush YouTube, and then I'm gonna pivot. Some people start on TikTok, like my buddy Eamon Alex crushed TikTok. He grew to 1 million followers on TikTok. Then he pivoted and started making stuff for YouTube, and then he got monetized faster, and people kind of saw his face. Because there's the thing of being like TikTok famous or being famous in a micro tribe, and then people will be more likely to watch your YouTube or maybe likely to follow you on Instagram when they see you on the Explore page. So I would say find one platform that you're naturally good at. What do you like? Are you a little more long-winded? Are you a little, do you like talking? Like I like to talk, so I like to be on YouTube, right? Find out one platform, go all in on it. But right now I would say don't ignore short vertical content. Short vertical content is where all these platforms are at. Under a minute. Attention, respect people's attention. You got to give them a reason to watch it till the end. You got to give them a reason to share it. I say something simple like this on TikTok. Sharing it is really clever, and I learned this from Gabe. In the middle of the video, say we're making a video on TikTok, and we're like, yo, we're gonna give you guys 3 reasons on why you should be on social media. But before that, hit copy, paste, share to get the thirst traps off your TikTok page, right? You say something silly like that, and then people will like laugh, and then you go back to the content, right? And it gives people, because then you're finessing the algorithm. If you just hit copy, paste the link on TikTok, that pushes it up the algorithm. So it's not just about likes. No one cares. The likes don't matter. It's about rewatchability of a video, and are you sharing the video, right? So that's a little hack for TikTok, is intentionally telling people, hey, copy, paste, copy, share, share, copy, paste. That's what share, copy, paste this 3 times so that you can get this video out, you can get this message out. And so if you go look at my latest TikTok, I do that. It's fun. Like you want to have fun on it. Like it's not supposed to be over the top serious. So and punch. When I talk to rappers all the time, I say, hey, stop trying to one take everything. Like no one cares. Like you're not freaking Lil Wayne. You're not Jay-Z. Punch your videos out, punch your raps out, punch your YouTube stuff out, because then when you got those jump cuts, you could really come in with the energy for every single time. So make a point, stop, make another point, stop, make another point, stop. And if the background is changing and things are looking different, all of that helps with, again, attention retention. You want to retain people's attention, and then you just get in the flow. And there's different ways to do it. People do it in different capacities. Gabe intentionally uses just his iPhone. Guys like Belief and Amen Alex, you shoot on a nice camera. Neither is right or wrong. Neither is bad. It's what is the objective that you're trying to accomplish.
Man, that's so good. In one sense, I'm really hating this conversation because it's so good, and there's so many things I got to do, and I can see Cherie looking at me in my eyes. I'm not looking at you though, Cherie, right now, because I know you. She's been saying all this stuff, man. This is so good, Ruslan. I love it. So that first section, we're really talking about ministry. If you guys take anything, there were so much good things that Ruslan dropped. Yeah. If you take anything from it, take away the idea that that's the work of the kingdom of God. Like we have to be in there being influencers for the sake of the gospel. Yes. And so if anything you take away from that's ministry. The next session for us is really message. All right. So you sold me. All right. Which I'm upset about, because now I feel like, okay, I gotta gear up, man. I gotta, because God's given me he's done a lot of things in my life. He's given me a lot of things to say, and I gotta do it. So okay, I get the camera. Tell me a little bit about message. Okay. So how important and how deeply should our youth workers, should I think about message? How do you craft that? What does that look like? What should people say? You know what I mean? And what does that look like? And really we're talking about, for us, a community of youth workers, right? So their main heart is really, how do I reach this next generation for Christ with the gospel? That's good. So I'd love to know any of your thoughts.
That's good. Can you guys give me your, like, as Urban Youth Workers Institute, what are like the 3 main values, or I don't know if there's like a specific number of values that's like the ethos of your company? Could you give me those, and I'll give you a content strategy around it?
Yeah, that's good, man. Now I'm like, shoot, he put me on the spot.
I'll let the CEO take this one.
Okay.
No, we're gospel centered. We really care about how do you get the gospel out there, but we're also deeply that there's a praxis to that. And so that looks like justice, and that looks like community development work, and that looks like life on life. Okay. So that's the second one. The third one's going to be more like on the discipleship tip. Okay. So it's really about how do you actually walk with and be a role model of a transformed life by the gospel of Jesus Christ, so that this next generation goes, oh yeah, I heard all these people on the news, and I don't believe them, and that's why I don't go to church. But I've watched your life, so tell me, help me in the way of living that way. Yeah. So those would be the 3 things.
So gospel centered. So
gospel centered.
Orthodoxy of the gospel, right? We're not going to color outside the lines and working some new age beliefs or some wonky stuff. We're going to be solid orthopraxy. So now we're going to practice the gospel.
Right.
We're going to live like followers of Jesus. We're not just going to talk about it. We're not just going to be acknowledgers. We're going to be actual followers of Jesus. So we're going to live it out. And then the third one is discipleship. Now we're going to live it with you. We're going to come alongside with you. Okay. So there's your content strategy. So what I would do is I would look at what's going on in culture and media, and every video I would make would go back to one of those 3 points. Everything will be about one of those 3 points. So let's do an easy one. T-Pain was viral this week because Usher told him he effed up music. That caused him to go into a 4-year depression. Here's the video from Urban Youth Workers. Guys, did you hear about this T-Pain story? Usher told him that he effed up music. That sent him into a terrible depression. But here's the deal. If we are following Jesus, then our community is going to be people that speak hope and life into us. And when people say ill things of us, it's not going to distract us because we are doing life with people that are encouraging us to press into Jesus. And therefore, it doesn't matter what Usher says. It doesn't matter what Jay-Z says. It doesn't matter if the world's criticizing you. When I have a community of people around me that are pushing me forward into my purpose of Jesus, the outside world doesn't matter. And I know, and I have my blinders on, and I'm pressing after Jesus. Boom. So now we just took something that was trending, which is T-Pain, this documentary series, Usher talking crazy to him on a flight, right? Boom. Now we're pulling something in that kids care about because it's in media. That folks were talking about this. Maybe not Gen Z, but definitely millennials were talking about T-Pain in this clip that went viral. So now we're taking something that's all over World Star Hip Hop. It's all over Twitter. It's all over Instagram. We're pulling it in, and then we're adding our ethos, one of the 3 points that we talk about, which is orthodoxy, gospel, orthopraxy, living out the gospel and actually being a follower of Jesus, and discipleship and being in community. Hey, and then the action step is, hey, so this is why you guys should plug into our urban resources that we put together, a whole bunch of stuff. We got this free training for you. Go check that out. That's on the house, right? Boom. And now you're giving them some kind of application point. So everything could go back to one of those 3 points. Every video, every TikTok, every YouTube stream, find something that's going on. So let's just walk through this right now. So I'm gonna go to Twitter, and I know what your guys' ethos is. So I'm gonna go to Twitter, and I can go to Google Trends. So let's go to Google Trends, and we're just gonna search this real quick, Google Trends. And Google Trends will tell you real-time stuff of what's trending right now. So that's pretty cool. So if we go here, boom, 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 trending searches, so Miami building collapse. Right. You guys hear about that? Okay, yeah. Easy. This is a layup. Hey guys, did you guys hear about the Miami building collapse? Man, so tragic. They're saying that at least one person died. We don't really know what happened, but we know Jesus said that if we build our lives on the foundation of Jesus and we don't build it on sand, but we build it on the rock of Jesus, that things will work out for us. So build your life on the rock of Jesus. Like you could literally tie it in with whatever trending topic, and there's going to be people that are curious, ooh, what do the urban youth workers think about this Miami building crash? Right? And again, this is kind of like, this feels cringy to say this, but it ties it into something that's trending. They want to know what you think, and you care about what they think. Let's see, Rudy Giuliani, Celtics are trending. Britney Spears, the conservatives are trending. So that, I mean, come on, there's so many different ways you can go with the Britney Spears thing. Critical race theory is always trending right now. Drake Bell. Let's see. So we go to Twitter. What's trending on Twitter? This Miami thing is trending. Super sad. Jason Kidd, NBA. There's a bunch of stuff on the NBA. Rudy Giuliani. So you could just really find Tyler the Creator. There's something. I'm sure there's a video in there or a topic in there about Tyler the Creator. So find something that people already care about, that's already happening, and the odds are your guys' youth are gonna care about these things. Like just from sheer spillover, they're gonna care about this. And there's gonna be people that aren't your youth and aren't connected to you, but they're just searching it, right? And so what happens is my video I'm trying to think of one of my, a lot of my videos, when people Google stuff, my videos will rank on Google. So people will search stuff, and instead of going to the news article, they'll just click into my video. Right? And because they're clicking into my video, they're getting the information, but then they're also getting my perspective on it.
Right.
That's good.
That's so good.
Man, you got in our chat, you got my staff like, dang, you know what I mean? Like just dropping bombs, man. Ah, man, it's so good, bro. And that's good. So part of it is, you know, if we go back to our values, right? And we talk about our orthodoxy there, right? For you, Ruslan, like what scriptures, and you said you had some of these up, like what motivates you, right? So on the back end of that, and I love what you just shared with us. Hey, go look what's trending. So, and a lot of you guys out there, you know what's up. So you're already in it. You're in the know. All right, you can grab that. The next thing you did though is you went right back to scripture, right? So for you, when it, you know, what scriptures motivate you as an influencer, like, how, you know, tell us a little bit about that, how you connect that.
Yeah, 1 Corinthians 9, 19 through 23. Many of us know this passage, super popular passage. This is Paul writing the church in Corinth, and he says, though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. To the Jews, I become like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law, I become like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law, I become like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but I'm under Christ's law, so as to win those not having the law. To the weak, I become weak to win the weak. I've become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. I do this for the sake of the gospel, that I share in its blessing. A lot of scholars believe that that's tied into Paul and how he ministered in Athens when he was with the Stoic philosophers in Acts 17, and he quoted their own secular poets to them. And a lot of Corinthians is actually Paul demonstrating quoting secular poets. So some of our most popular sayings, everything is permissible for me, that's from Corinthian secular poetry. Bad company corrupts good character. That's actually something from secular culture. So he's constantly quoting back things from them, and we read it and we think, oh, these are all original thoughts. No, he's actually intentionally quoting. And in Acts 17, it says, as some of your own poets have said, in him we live and breathe and have our being. That's their poets. That's not Hebrew poets. That's not Hebrew literature. Those are secular pagan poets that he's quoting back to them. And I think 1 Corinthians 9 kind of encompasses his mentality of that. Listen, I become all things so that I could persuade as many as I can to Christ Jesus. And that's what I love, the demonstration of Paul in Athens in Acts 17, and I love that passage. And that's how I leverage technology. That's how I leverage media. That's how I leverage these different things. And when it's time, hey, I could go and preach at a Sunday morning if I'm ever asked to. I could do that too. But that's not really where my heart is, right? I'm looking to reach those who are far from God, to reach non-church, to reach people that have deconverted or in the process of deconverting, in the process of decolonizing or deconstructing. I want to speak to those people, because I think a lot of the issues people are dealing with is more of an indictment on fundamentalism and less of an indictment on Jesus and less of an indictment of Christians. When I say Christians, I mean worldwide Christians. I mean the Christians in Ethiopia, the Christians in Armenia, the Christians in India, the Christians in China. We have an issue with fundamentalism, and so people tend to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I'm hoping to speak to those people as well.
Man, that's so good. And for those of you guys listening and our community definitely is listening, I love that, because it dives into the tension of the scripture, right? And also challenges some of the things that get set up, like, no, this is it. Like, and I love it, like where it's like, well, that's scripture, and it's like, well, it is scripture that Paul's quoting from a secular space. Exactly. So when you get into this realm of being an influencer, there is that tension there. There is some of those, like, honestly, gray areas where you're like, yeah, I want to become all things to all people. I don't want to maybe do what they do, right? Or support what they support, but I'm here, I'm in it. Yep. And we got to walk that line. That does have to come from scripture. And one of those areas, sorry, brother, is the third area, is monetization, right? And that's one of those other areas where people get we get a little weird about it, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like Christians get a little weird when it about money. And so I would love for you to kind of like demystify some of that and talk about the flip side of that, of what, like, look, when God blesses you with resources, what do you do with it? How do you deal with that? And what does that look like? And really kind of even outline and give us a structure. What does that look like as an influencer? And if, you have some talent at it, God blesses that, you're reaching people, you're growing the audience, and you're influencing for the gospel, for Christ. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about money, because a lot of times, you know, people just don't want to talk about it, or they'll judge on it, right?
Yeah,
well, oh, well, shoot, like Ruslan makes all this money from it, like that's why he's doing, you know, all that. And I didn't hear anybody say that, dog.
Yeah.
I was just, you know, as an example,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
put us up on some game,
Yeah,
man.
I look at money from two different pots, and I'll try to give you the brief version of this. Pot one is the scripture says is this in the New Testament: if a man not work, he ought not eat. Right? Any man that does not provide for the needs of his household, of his family, specifically those of his immediate family, is worse than a non-believer and has denied the faith. That stings. Like when I first read that, I was like, ouch, like that stings. So we know that there's a responsibility that we have as followers of Jesus, that we need to work. You need to work to eat, right? You need to work to eat. That's, you know, hey, that is what it is. And a lot of us are in that space where we're just working to eat. And there's nothing wrong working to eat. And I spent pre going into ministry, I worked at a YMCA after school program. I worked with adults with developmental disabilities, all fulfilling work, amazing work. But what I knew I needed to do, especially if I wanted to stay in Southern California, is I knew I needed to also sow to reap. So there's one side of it where we're working to eat. You got to work to eat, but then you also got to sow to reap. And I mean, come on, how many farming metaphors are all throughout the scripture, right? All the time, like every time they're talking about something about farming, right? And the thing about sowing to reap is it's not like working to eat. Working to eat is I work now, I get paid Friday or next Friday. I work, I get food, I get my utilities, I get my shelter. Sowing to reap is you sow now, you work now, you got to tend the land, you got to be faithful, but you don't reap till the next harvest. Mm-hmm. There's a delay there. Matter of fact, the only thing that you don't need to work the land for that grows fast are weeds. So if you want fast results, it's probably going to be weeds. It's going to be something that you really don't want. So when you sow to reap, you're playing life in years and decades and half decades, 20 years, and you're thinking about the next season. And that's how a lot of the times building wealth can be is, yes, we got to work to eat. We got to be responsible. We got to provide for our families, but we also need to be doing something over here on the side so that for the next season, there's something coming in. There's something coming in that's passive. There's something coming in where, check this out. We're not just trading time for money, because that's where we stay stuck. Even doctors, they've done studies, even doctors and lawyers who make $300, $400, $500 an hour never actually end up building wealth because they end up trading time for money, and they don't actually build wealth until they open their own practice, right? What we want to do is we want to trade results for money. We want to trade results for money. And this is a concept from Naval, meaning that if I make a video, that video might generate me $100. That video might generate me $10,000. It's about the results of the video. If I write a song, that song might get 5,000 plays. That song might get 5 million plays. It's the results, right? And in the same way with social media, the same way with these things is we can build an audience and then come up with ideas, whether it's merchandising, whether it's writing a book, whether it's putting on a conference, whether it's creating a digital product, whatever it is, that then you're trading results for money. If you've added value, I'm not trying to flex, but like there's Christian YouTubers I know that people in this chat know that are probably going to go on to clear 7 figures this year. Okay? Wow. Because people are like, yes, take my money. You've been this much of a blessing to me. How can I give to your ministry? How can I partner with you monthly? And they're getting, paid to speak, book deals, YouTube monetization, Facebook monetization, donations, right? 7 figures. Now this is where my brain goes. My brain goes, man, my buddy Jeff has a church plant out here, young church reaching Gen Z in Oceanside called Rhythm Church. And me and guys like Sean Cannell think, man, we want to buy Jeff a building. Jeff's on the front lines doing the work. Jeff ain't got time to be over here. He's a lead pastor. He ain't got time to be doing. But man, when a bunch of creative people who maybe have a heart for the local church, but that's not our function, can go and really, we talking M's. Now we're talking multiple M's, right? Can then go and buy a church building or create that benevolence program in your local church so that those single mothers never go without. But let's go deeper, so that those single mothers have a career path and a trajectory to do something, so that that person who got out of prison can go to barber school and completely graduate debt free. What if we start setting up funds for the person transitioning out? Because 12 years ago, my buddy got out, he couldn't go to barber school. California wouldn't allow ex-convicts to become barbers. That changed. He went into debt. What if he didn't have to go into debt? Right? And now these guys are making $500-$600 a day cutting hair. What if the church was involved in that? What if the church was really being the hands and feet? By the church, I don't mean the local church. I mean Christians who are leveraging technology. And now, granted, everybody's not going to be a multi-six-figure YouTuber or a seven-figure Christian YouTuber, but $50,000, an extra $50,000 a year changes a lot of people's lives.
Nice.
An extra $10,000 a year changes a lot of people's lives. And that may sound like a lot of money, but goodness gracious, you could do a merch drop with a proper rollout and make an extra 10 grand a year, 20 grand a year, just flipping t-shirts with a heat press and a Cricut air machine. Like you really can. And there's people that are doing it, and it's all in being deliberate. So yes, I think we got to demystify and not demonize money. But I also we need to understand that, listen, yes, money's a terrible master, but a great servant. Money, and that's my man Jason Mayfield. Money is a terrible master, but a great servant. So in terms of monetization, obviously YouTube AdSense is great once you start popping and you get your channel monetized.
Ruslan, I'm going to stop you because I'm going to take people systematically through the words you're about to start dropping.
Okay.
Because you brought AdSense up. So for those of you who are listening, yes, we are saying that you can actually make money doing this. Now, for our youth workers, this is a game changer. You know, an extra $20,000 to $50,000 a year could fund a program that you really want to do for the kids in your community. You know, it could pay the rent for a building. It could buy clothes for the kids in the community. Like, this is deep. So like that goes back to the results. It goes back to the return on investment. So when you're sitting here and going, do I have time? I would almost say Ruslan's proved that you can't not have time to do this. It sounds like for a lot of reasons, right? From an influence standpoint, from the gospel standpoint, from the impact standpoint, and then potentially for what it could do in your money situation, and then the impact you could have to bless people and take care of your family. Because a lot of our youth workers, the reason why they're working 3 or 4 jobs and exchanging time for money is because they're trying to do their passion, right? But they have to hold down a job that just pays the bills. So it's all jacked up, and then they get burnt out, and then they leave youth ministry, or maybe they leave, the faith. And so I like everything you're saying, because our leaders are already starting at a point where they're influencers. I'm telling you, like, they have the goods to be influencers as far as their message goes, but may not have the practical skills. And so I want to walk through some of these terms you're about to drop, okay? It's important for you who are listening to understand these terms, because this is how you monitor your monetization. This is how you set up your content to make sure you can make money. So, Ruslan, I'm going to take you through some terms, okay? And I want you to tell us the definition of these terms. And by the way, we are going long. We are intentionally going long on this call just because there's a lot we want to give you guys. We'll chop it up and streamline it later for all the different platforms. But anyway, the first one I want to give to you is, tell us what the term CPC means.
It's cost per 1,000 views. So depending on your audience on YouTube, you get paid different rates. So someone that's reaching an older audience can have a higher CPC. So if you're talking, you have a women's ministry or intercession ministry, women are going to skew higher as a demographic in terms of what their views and their eyeballs are worth to advertisers. So one of my friends who's doing very well has a $20 CPC, right? $20 per 1,000 views. Mine's is around $12. My buddies that reach a younger audience is around $5 or $6. It's lower end of the spectrum. The younger the audience, the less disposable income they have. So depending on who you're reaching, that number can go way up, right? In certain videos, like if I do a video tying in something from Dave Ramsey or financial literacy, that's going to skew higher because those people are probably a bit more financial literate. It's a different demographic. They could sell them different products from an advertiser standpoint. So everybody's audience is going to be different. And you have to be okay with knowing that when you're starting, that number is going to be low. When you move up the spectrum and you start going viral and getting some stuff to pop off, it's going to go higher.
Yeah. So that's the CPC, basically cost per click, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
the idea that like if you do a display ad on YouTube or whatever, it's I read up on this definition, is an online advertising revenue model that websites use to bill advertisers based on the number of times visitors click on a display ad.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. CPM.
That's actually, I just described CPM. The
CPM,
The CPM is the CPC based on the $1,000 views. Yeah. So CPC is for 1 click. CPM is per 1,000 views per YouTube.
Okay. So cost per click, CPC. CPM is cost per 1,000.
Yep.
So for every 1,000 people who view your content, you're making $12.
Oh, right now I'm making $12. Yeah.
Okay.
And I could finesse that. Like I could make content that's primarily about financial literacy and business and marketing and kind of skew that further along, right? Or like do a bunch of Dave Ramsey reaction videos and skew that further along. But I don't need to. I like the audience I have. I like having a primarily millennial audience.
Which goes into that RPM, which is the revenue you're making per 1,000, which you said was the 12. Okay,
that's your cut. Yeah, that's your cut. Yep. So YouTube takes 45%, I think, of that, and you get 55% of that.
Okay. All right. Ad spend. What is that? People don't know they need this, but it's important they know. Go ahead.
So ad spend is what you're spending to get a product off the ground, right? So say Tommy was selling that tribe hat that he's wearing, and that was his idea. You can finesse ad spend down to hey, for every dollar I spend in ad spend, I'm gonna make 6, 7, 8x the return. And so you could get it down to literally like a number place, and people make really good money for that. Like, so if you have a product and you have either email list or an audience or some type of Facebook pixel, meaning that when you go and you click on my smart URL, there's a pixel attached to that. Later down the line, I could show you an ad to everybody that's ever clicked my pixel, everybody that's ever clicked into a second link on my pixel. So then I could show them a retargeting ad. Retargeting ads are one of the most incredible ways to make conversions on stuff. So if you guys are ever searching for something and all of a sudden you open up Instagram and there's a bunch of ads for that thing, or the creepy part when you're just talking about something.
No, dude. I promise you, when I'm cooking certain things, Alexa will be like, here's a recipe on fried chicken. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Yep.
I think Alexa smells things. I think Google be smelling stuff.
I think, yes, they definitely are listening to us. So in regards to that, what you can, all that information is aggregating, and then when you have a product, somebody is searching for indie tribe, someone is looking up tribes by what is it, not Malcolm, who wrote tribes? Seth Godin, and they're looking up tribes, and then Tommy has a hat that says tribe. You can narrow that down to for every $100 I spend, I make $300, right? Now, where it gets really interesting, I mean, again, at that point, if you really got a great product, whether it's merchandise, whether it's a book, whether it's an online course, whether it's a t-shirt, whatever it is, and you get that down, I mean, at that point, you could almost print money if you know what you're doing. And that's what happened is a lot of folks that went over it jumped in the merch game, and they're getting 6, 7, 8x return on their things. I got a buddy of mine, Bartholomew Jones. He has a company called Coffee Black. It's all about decolonizing coffee culture, and they buy brew from Ethiopia, where like coffee really originated from, was Africa. Super dope company, and they got this down where they dropped a T-shirt. That T-shirt blew up. They did like 1,500 pre-orders. Then from the T-shirt, they pivoted and did a monthly coffee subscription for $40 a month, and so then that got a bunch of people signed up. That took off, and then last time they got evaluated, I think their business was evaluated at a 7-figure business. This is someone that lost their job as a teacher, an inner city public school teacher, and because he understood content, respecting attention, having a great product, because it's always not about merchandise, right? Like sometimes having coffee and it's a unique value proposition, right? Meaning we're going to create coffee for all the folks who don't fall into the stereotypical Starbucks, coffee shop. That can go further because it's now you're going into a different niche. It's a different product system, right? So I think stuff like that, and again, this is a Christian, this is a follower of Jesus, and Coffee Black is blowing up. It's huge, right? They were on NPR, they were on Vice, they're getting massive coverage. So he has it down to a boom, for every dollar I spend, I know I'll make this much. So then it's just like, how much do I want to spend? How much do we want to fulfill? The question then doesn't become, how do we pay our bills? The question becomes, how do we fulfill all these orders?
Yeah.
Then what he did is he went and bought up his block. He literally is buying up his block. He lives in Memphis and they're buying up the block. They're feeding people, they're clothing people. They're literally doing the ministry of Jesus through entrepreneurialism.
That's awesome.
I love that, man. And we believe in that. And we could have a whole nother conversation about money and evangelicalism and some of the weird theological frameworks that even I came out of, where it's like somehow staying in poverty is more righteous than right. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff there, man. We don't got the time, but man, so we had talked about, friends, ministry, message, monetization. And so we want to give an opportunity to you guys out there who are watching, who are rocking with us right now. If you have any thought, any kind of questions, we kind of go into a Q&A time for Ruslan, just to, throw some questions out there. I think our team's gonna shoot us some if there's any. So give you guys an opportunity to type something in there and hit Ruslan with all your questions. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys go like, hey, I got an idea for a business. What do you think, Ruslan? Maybe it's not that question right now. You know what I mean? Because I think brother's got a course for you if you want to go that direction. So make sure you go check out Ruslan's page and all that. If you're on our side of the community and you haven't subscribed to him and checked him out, man, support this brother, because he's just been dropping it, and he believes in the kingdom, and he's about the gospel. And I love that. I love how you're living it out, Ruslan. So do we got any questions, friends?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Sheree.
For a question. I feel like you already answered this though, Ruslan. Okay. So I'll kind of direct it a little bit. The person says, in creating an online community, how do I do that? Like, how do I create an engaging online community? Now, this is where I think potentially, Ruslan, you could talk to us about that niche thing you were talking about. I think it was called Blue Ocean or something like that. Yeah. Maybe bring a little bit of that in real quick. Yeah,
Blue Ocean. I mean, that's first of all, that's not an original idea. Most people do is they go in and they want to go into red ocean markets, meaning I want to open a burger joint. Okay, great. Well, now you're competing with McDonald's, Burger King, Jack in the Box. That is a red ocean. There's a lot of sharks there. There's a lot of blood there. That is a red ocean for competition, and it's an oversaturated market. Well, if you go and become a blue ocean type of thinker and you say, what can I do that's different? So instead of saying, hey, I want to do another t-shirt company. Hey, I want to do a t-shirt company. No. I want to do coffee that's for Black and brown people and give them the history and the education of coffee. So that's a different demographic. And some of that can cross over to just average guys like me that like, yo, I'm down to try your coffee. I'm down to support you just because I mess with the vision. So I think Blue Ocean is being different, being completely different in yet being connected to some type of market. Coffee is a proven commodity. People love it. People drink it. You package it the right way, and now it's a blue ocean, different demographic. So be thinking of what are some intersections that have not been addressed yet. What are some things that you can add that the average person isn't thinking about? That is a blue ocean mentality. You're out here. You're doing your own thing. So for me, for example, let's just be very, very frank. I'm not competing with Lecrae, Andy Mineo, 1K Few, What Up RG, Derek Minor. I'm not competing with any of those guys. I still put out music, but I could care less because I'm over here in this Christian YouTube space building a whole new audience for my music that's completely autonomous from the traditional Christian rap Reach Records, Rapzilla audience. So I'm swimming in a blue ocean, and these new folks over here that don't even, a lot of folks don't even know who Lecrae is, right? Which is crazy to think about, are enjoying what I'm offering and are willing to give my music and my merchandise a shot. I've created a blue ocean approach to what I'm doing. And in the same way, I'm not the same as a lot of the other Christian creators on YouTube, right? So a lot of the Christian creators are gonna take a more conservative perspective on things, right? So everybody has their CRT is bad video right now. Well, I'm going to give you a different angle on that. And I'm going to say, you know what? Most folks don't know what they're talking about. That's actually not CRT. That's Robin DiAngelo and some of her loony stuff. Let's talk about what the actual thing is. I'm going to give a different perspective. So people come to my channel hearing something different and refreshing than what a lot of other stuff. And Christians love to be known by what we're against instead of being known what we're for. That is a blue ocean strategy. There's not a lot of Christian creators, Christian influencers that are like, yo, I'm not going to be the guy that's just going to be this bad, that bad, this community bad. No. Let's talk about the stuff that we're for, and let's unify. Because when we start talking about the things that we're for, people get excited. When we start talking about entrepreneurialism, when we start talking about impacting communities, when we start talking about changing lives, most people are like, yo, I'm down. Like, let's go. And Jesus is in the mix. Like, okay, I don't know about that Jesus, but what you're saying is adding value to me, and I'm with it, right? So again, blue ocean strategy. It's not what everybody else is doing.
I love it. We have another question, and I think this is a great one because this is your homegirl right here. I don't like doing social media by myself. I'm always like, if I'm going to do all this stuff, I want to do it in community because I think it's fun. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. So the question is, what do you believe, Ruslan, about partnership in the social media space? How do you do it in community?
Oh, that's such a loaded question. I'm huge on community. On community because community, I can learn from you. You can learn from me. There's information, ideas that I've never thought about that you could help me with, right? And vice versa. Community is incredible. And I learn from a lot of people because I have access to a lot of community. I've intentionally steered away from partnerships because I think oftentimes partnerships can get messy, and I feel like there's always that kid that's the smart kid that ends up doing all the work in the group project in school. And I feel like that's how partnerships could be. So I would just tread lightly. And so if you want to do a partnership, just tread very lightly and make sure, the bigger idea is make sure you're not being creatively codependent. Make sure that you wanting to be in a partnership is not because you feel inadequate as a creator. It's not because you feel inadequate in what God has called and told you to do. And if I'm honest, in my life, the groups I've been a part of, the collectives I've been a part of, it's been because I was insecure about what God told me to do. And it was just easier to do it with other people, and I could kind of hide when I needed to hide, and I could kind of be the face, and it wasn't healthy. So I would say in terms of partnerships, you have to be confident in what God told you to do. And when there's opportunities for cross-pollination, when there's opportunities to do stuff pop up on people's channels, by all means do that, but don't do partnerships because you're insecure. And in my case, I don't want to speak in absolutes. In my case, it's because I was insecure. In my case, it's because I wasn't sure of what God told me to do, and then I would keep being in these partnerships that just weren't the most helpful, And now I'm in a totally different space where like I don't need anyone else for me to do what God told me to do with what I'm supposed to be doing in this season.
That's really, really good. That makes me think a lot. One thing I like about you, though, Ruslan, is that even though you may not do partnerships in the traditional sense, you definitely are partnered with a lot of influencers. Like, you all are sharing your best tips, your best practices. Pastor Roy, again, my friend, he tells me all the things you've taught him. Like, you're really generous with your knowledge, and I think that's really beautiful. So I think that's another way to look at community. Are you in community with other people who are doing the work? Yep. And then, sharing the best practices as you go and do what you're called to do.
And just to add to that to me, that should be without strings attached, right? Meaning that, like, me and Pastor Roy, that is a mutually beneficial relationship. I learn from him, he learns from me. It doesn't matter if I have more subscribers or whatever. That is a mutually beneficial relationship. He'll encourage me to talk about certain topics. He's encouraged me to have certain guests on, and that's the type of community and partnership that's healthy. Me and Pastor Roy going and doing a YouTube page together because we're bored or because we whatever. Like that's not the most healthy thing. No, I should be willing to help pull him up along with me, and he should be willing to share information and come on my channel and give wisdom and insight. And Pastor Roy's a regular on my channel. Those of you guys that don't know, we do our Stop Quoting That Bible Verse. As an entrepreneur, my tendency goes, well, let's just create a Stop Quoting That Bible Verse merch brand, and let's create a Stop Bible That Verse YouTube and a separate podcast, and it's like, no, it doesn't need to happen. And if he ever wanted me to be a regular on his channel, I would do the same thing. Now we're creating autonomous identities in the YouTube space where we can help each other out, but it's not this like codependent thing.
Yeah. Well, I want to honor your time because you're giving us so much wisdom. But the reality is you actually have a course. Tommy talked about that, where people can literally follow along with you. You literally teach people these principles that you've been giving us today. So Ruslan, where can we find you? How can people sign up and join your community?
Yeah, and this is what I'll do. I wasn't planning to like pitch a course here. The course is at masteryoutubelive.com. But anybody that is with urban youth workers or with our Patreon community, if you guys want to do the course within like the next, let's just say week, we'll get you a 50% off discount code. The course is it's an investment, and the course really goes through this like methodically and the how and the nuts and bolts of specifically what I do with YouTube Live. So you don't need a course, but if you want to know what I do with YouTube Live, we have that course available. It's at masteryoutubelive.com. We launched it a couple months ago. We've been having a lot of different people using the methods that I use, which we talked about here, but we get into like the minutia of the details. And there's also a course, like a second course we launched that's a part of this main course about merchandising and how to do all merchandising right inside your house with a couple $100 investment. And so that's all at masteryoutubelive.com. And again, we'll do a 50% off code for anyone that's with Urban Youth Workers or our Patreon, because that's usually retail. And then we open it up occasionally and do like affiliate stuff. But I'm down to do some more questions if there's anybody. Like, I was expecting people's faces when we did questions. So
okay. Now, hold on, because people are going to hear about this code and they're going to be emailing us and DMing us. So where are they going to get this code?
I'm gonna send you guys the code, and I'll post a code on Patreon, and we'll rock it that way. I gotta find the code actually. It's somewhere in it.
We'll drop the code once we end this live. We'll make sure we put it in the caption so you guys will have it, so you can go ahead and get your skills up with Ruslan. Go ahead, Tommy.
Man, well, Ruslan, thanks, man. I mean, that's so generous, man. We so appreciated our time with you, and friends out there. I hope you guys have been inspired. One thing I want to encourage you: don't be overwhelmed. You know what I mean? How do you eat an elephant? Mm-hmm. One bite at a time. So it's just, but what I loved, one of the things I'll pull out is when Ruslan was talking about, you sow to reap. Mm-hmm. So it takes that time, and I'm really honestly, friend, I'm saying that to me, all right, because I have been resistant to this, and so all right, so expect some things from me. We're gonna be pushing in, man. Yeah, it's good, man.
I would just honestly say the best if people genuinely want to get into the content space, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, I'd say that this one applicable takeaway that's easy, fun, we could all do is go through and just look at the content you like. Go on TikTok, look at the content you like, copy it, like it, comment on it, share it. What will happen is TikTok will instantly start curating that for you, and then your entire TikTok will be filled of nothing but Christian content. So, so that's just step one. Same thing on YouTube. Like, go subscribe to, myself, Mike Winger, Alan Parr. Figure out what your flavor is. Figure out what you're into. Once you do that, then pay attention to what is happening and how they're doing it. Really pay attention. And I mean, like, download the video and pay attention to it frame by frame. Look at why certain videos get millions of views and why certain videos get 10 views, because that's, that not 10 views, but 100 views, 200 views. And what you'll do is, one, you're just respecting the platform, you're enjoying the content, you're having fun. And then I think you can study and start understanding why does this video work and why does this video not work? And then you just incorporate that and just say, okay, I understand it. And again, first five posts on TikTok. If you've struck out your first 5 posts on TikTok, just create a whole new TikTok. Just start all over. And once you spent a week really immersing yourself and finding the content, engaging in the community, you'll start understanding and piecing it together. And again, it's about retention. It's about making stuff punchy and getting to the point quick, tying in stuff they care about. So that's what, yeah, to bring it home, like, don't be overwhelmed. Start by just consuming stuff you like and understanding this. And I guarantee you, those of you guys that are like TikTok, go on TikTok and look at all the Christian creators and engage and like with all their content, and you'll be blown away by how many Christian creators are on TikTok with millions and millions and millions of followers that are doing great work, and it'll probably more than likely inspire you and take you to the finish line of actually creating your first couple videos.
Very good, because one of the questions that he had was about, if you were 15 to 20 years old today, where should I start with the least amount of experience? And it sounds like you're just saying there's no right answer to that. It's really where are you passionate? Where are you resonating? What do you like? So you've got to start just getting into the platforms. It sounds like you're saying, figure out what you like, figure out what inspires you, what makes you come alive, find creators you can follow, see what they're doing. You can even mimic, people who are great artists usually have people that are impersonating their art. That's just how it is. And that's what's a sign of great artistry. So get on there, start studying, start looking. And we couldn't be having a digital space conversation if we didn't invite you guys to our digital space. So we are UIWI, Urban Youth Workers Institute, and we develop urban leaders. So we just want to thank you, Ruslan, for even bringing your community in and introducing them to us. And we want to introduce ourselves to you guys. Hey, we are here to develop you as leaders. One of the questions that was out there was like, do I need to be like a strong role model to pick up this influencer thing? And UIWI, we would answer yes. We would answer that you need to be a great role model. And you may not know what that means. And that's what we're here for. Urban Youth Workers, again, we develop urban leaders. We help you go from point A to point B to point C to point D, to become the dope leader you were created to be, to reach more young people with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, hit us up at UIWI. If you want to follow us on Twitter, same thing, UIWI. If you want to follow us on our failed 2 attempts, in my opinion, of TikTok, and I might delete our channel after this, Ruslan, we're on there. Start telling us what we need to do better now. We're gonna get better. And then Tommy, our awesome CEO, has a dope podcast called The Future Is Here, that really walks you through a lot of stuff we talk about in culture, to your point, Ruslan. Really goes into our ethos as an organization. So guys, check it out. It's on all the streaming platforms. The Future Is Here podcast. We also have a resource out called Developing Digital Disciples. So some of you might be listening like, man, okay, I'm ready to get into this whole digital world. And maybe you guys are unique in the sense of maybe you're gamers, maybe you're on Twitch. We didn't even talk about Twitch. We didn't even talk about Discord, but that's a whole thing, y'all. And we have a resource. We're going to drop it in the chat. You guys can get that for free, like how to engage with youth in the digital space, specifically in the gaming world. So again, we want to thank you guys so much for joining us. Ruslan, any last words for us? Any last little bits and nuggets?
I would just say all of this at the end of the day should be fun.
Come on.
This is not something that you need to worry about, be anxious about, stress out about. If you opening up or even starting this is making you feel anxious, then don't. Approach this as, man, this is so fun. Who would have thought if you told me 20 years ago I could make miniature music videos and miniature sermons and I would be like, what? Right on my phone? I'm so down. And I would say, generally speaking, this should be fun. You should be enjoying this process. And that's why I love this process, because we've now eliminated so many of the false dilemmas. I could have fun on social media. My social media can actually be wholesome because I'm engaging with wholesome content. It's not all thirst traps and debauchery. I could reach people with the gospel, and over time, it could potentially be a little side revenue stream. Not tomorrow, guys. By the way, just so we're very clear, do not get into this for the money, because the money comes later. You first got to give the impact. You first got to get the impact and build the influence. The money comes later. But it eliminates so many of these false dilemmas. And so I think that would be my advice, is at the end of the day, you should be finding this fulfilling and fun. and I feel like after you spend some time watching different Christian creators on these platforms, you will find it fun. And I was watching guys like Alan Parr, who I have the privilege of calling him a friend now, watching guys like Mike Winger, and just like, man, like who would have thought this would have worked? Mike Winger was one of the first people to do like hour-long YouTube Bible studies, going verse by verse in the Gospel of Mark, right? And it just worked. So I think all these things at the end of the day should be fun and should be exciting. And that would be the way I would approach it, and really objectively consider the time that we live in and how unique it is, and how we have never seen anything like this before. Like, we've never seen the ability for people to build this level of influence with this minimal of effort. But you got to know the mechanics, and so I'm down to talk mechanics all day. And I think most people are just intimidated. They don't know where to start. And I would just start by just consuming, man. Like, go subscribe to some of these channels I mentioned. Go follow these guys on TikTok. Go follow Amen Alex. Go follow Gay Perot. Go follow these guys on TikTok. Have fun and just enjoy the content. And you'll be blown away. And then you'll be like sharing it. Like, did you see this video? Oh my gosh, this person's so funny. Oh my gosh. And that's what I think it's all about. And you'll see all the different flavors, all the different colors, all the different personalities, all the different slants. It's a really cool space, and it's very fertile right now if you're a Christian creator.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I love that. Ruslan, thanks so much for your time, man, for your just be with you and your community. Brothers and sisters that are part of the UIWI leader community, man, we love you guys. We're for you. We're with you. We are you. We're still in the trenches, man, doing the thing. And so we just appreciate you, Ruslan, man. Thanks for all you do in the kingdom, brother. We hope we can continue to support you and also just be in touch, man. We just I appreciate your voice in the kingdom of God, man. So keep it up.
Appreciate you
friends.
guys.
Thanks a lot, man. Join us next month, and we'll continue to pump out these resources and training and coaching for you guys, man, as you continue to fight for those souls in the streets and in the neighborhoods and the barrio. So thanks, guys. We'll see you guys later.
Don't forget to subscribe, guys. Keep following along. Peace.
Hey, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you found it valuable, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. You can check out one of the other videos related to this that'll be over here. Now, I gotta tell you about a free training I have for anyone that is an entrepreneur, a creative, an artist, but maybe you are unsure on how to find your voice, how to find your niche. I have a free training in the description of this video. Check it out. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next video.